Welcome ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to talk about the Magicka Dragonknight PvE build for the Summerset chapter. I do have a written guide on my website, link in the description below. So when we look at our stats, really nice. Spell damage will stack up to 4.4k, I will showcase you that in a second, because we're running Siroria. Make sure to run the Apprentice Mundus Stone to get more spell damage. If you're not at the penetration cap, then run the lever. Buff food wise, clockwork, like always, it's all on my website. If that's too expensive, just run Witch Mother's Potent Brew, which is pretty cheap and basically does the same thing, just slightly less stats. Potions, we use the Spell Power Pots, Major Sorcery, Major Prophecy, Restore Magicka. Now, you don't technically need the Prophecy buff, because we have access to Inner Light, which gives us this. However, those are just, I usually buy them in the guild store, so they're easier to get, but technically you don't need it. Race, Dark Elf is hands down the best choice because 7% flame damage, which buffs most of our flame abilities. And on top of that, it also buffs Zaun or Valkin. Then we get 3% Magicka here and 6 here, so 9% max Magicka in total. Fire resistance is also nice because you could technically be a vampire if you want for the 10% extra Magicka recovery. Now in terms of gear, like I said, this is basically the best setup available like it is here, but I also do have easier to get setups on my website, and please make sure to not forget to subscribe. We're running Siroria. What does this set do? Basically, when you deal direct damage with a single target ability, also light attacks, creates a ring of fire beneath you for 10 seconds. Standing in the ring grants you a stack of Siroria's boon for 5 seconds. Each stack gives you 30 spell damage, and it stacks up to 20 stacks. So that's 600 permanent spell damage if you can stay in this circle. Just to kind of show you. See, it goes up, it goes up. Slightly, slightly. Now I use a pot. Now it stops. And I can activate my weapon damage enchant on the back bar, 4.4k spell damage. With so much spell, create max Magicka and so on, you're gonna hit like a truck. That's why this set is a must-have, and also gives you Minor Slayer. There is an imperfect and the perfect version. The imperfect version does not have a Magicka bonus on the 5-piece. That's the only difference. Just to quickly explain how the perfect gear drops. Only the last boss in Cloud Rest drops it. Weapons drop from +0. Then gear drops from +1 and jewelry only from +3 hard mode. I will do a separate video on that kind of subject later. Then the second set we're running is Elfbane. Increases the duration of your flame damage abilities by 2 seconds. So what does this do? 1, 2, this also 3, 4, 5, and this. It's a lot of abilities that can be buffed, but it's mostly those 4 here that get the extra 2 seconds. And that's why Elfbane is so strong on a Mech DK. Elfbane is a heavy armor set. However, with jewelry crafting we can now trade change. So what you want to do is get 3 arcane traits here instead of healthy. That's why this set is so strong now. Later in the update we might change to 2 arcane, 1 bloodthirsty, but for now 3 arcane is good. How do you want to allocate this? So we are front barring Siroria, so it's not active on the back bar. Keep that in mind. The reason why, on my Discord, Richard did a lot of tests with MacDK Elfbane, and he found it to be easier to have Elfbane on, like on the body, so it's active all the time. Otherwise the rotation gets way too complicated. So that's why we have 2 heavy armor pieces here and everything else is light. Now keep in mind, if you can, go get the heavy armor Elfbane chest. I simply couldn't find one. That's why I just use a belt. It will give you more resistances because heavy armor chests give the highest resistance increase. So just saying. It's perfectly listed on my website though, so you can just check it there, I guess. Last set's on. Now this is a melee set, but Magickas have to kind of be melee. This deals an insane amount of damage. It's like 4 or 5k DPS from this alone. It procs off light attack. It's this beam here. And guess what? Elfbane also buffs the duration of this. That's why we get like 4 or 5k damage, like DPS from this set. Usually it's 5 seconds, but now it's 7. So we have that, and then the Dark Elves flame damage increase, CP flame damage increase. It just hits so hard. You want Divine on all pieces. I do run a healthy glyph on the chest, just to get to a decent health value, because we are running Witch Mothers. Very important. Then, in terms of weapons, front bar, infused flame damage, so we can keep up the burning effect and just Fury, weapon enchants do a lot of damage. Back bar, you want weapon damage glyph, also with infused. Just to keep the extra weapon damage, which is very important. That's how we actually reach 4.4k spell damage. Sorry, spell damage, not weapon damage. Both fire staves, okay? Maelstrom is still needed. Light attacks do more damage than ever, so you really want the Maelstrom Inferno stuff. It's about the gear setup. Like I said, if you don't have Siroria, use Burning Spellweave till you have it. That's what I did. And I have a lot of other sets on my side. Now, champion points. 44 Tom, 56, 27, 30, 49, 44, 37, 37, 75, 49, 52, 49, 49, 48, 81, 23. It's all on my website. I also have a 300 CP setup there. Passives, all the class passives, destruction stuff passives, light armor passives. Heavy armor, you only need Juggernaut technically just to get a little bit more health. Then if you want to be a vampire, be a vampire. Fighter's Guild, you only need Banish the Wicked to get more ulti. Mage's Guild, you want, well, it's better to get all, but mostly Magicka Controller just to get more max Magicka, because we have Inner Light here. Suchik, you don't really need that. You can get it if you want. Undaunted, you need this. We get 4% max resources because we run a 5 light to heavy setup. Racial passives and medicinal use in the alchemy section. I list them all up on my website as well if you're confused. But this here is a must-have because that way we can keep up our potions 100%. Now in terms of abilities. Burning Embers, Engulfing Flames, those are two very strong dots. Then Flame Lash, this is our spammable. Now, why do we not use Lava Whip? So basically, Flame Lash in general will result in more overall damage. Because when the target is set off balanced, it will proc the Power Lash, which does more damage, plus the cost is 0 then when the Power Lash procs, so it will increase our sustain a lot. You just need to make sure that off balance is on the targets, otherwise Flame Lash is useless. I mean, you still do damage, but you will not get the proc. So in the end, run either morph, it doesn't really matter. Harness Magicka, a shield. Inner Light, this is here to give us 5% max Magicka and another 2% from the passive. Fury Rage, you need this here. You can use this on trash. Flame Stuff increases your damage done with single target abilities by 8. While you have a Destruction Stuff ability slotted. So that's why we have this here. Oh, what was that? Blockade of Fire, Eruption, all dots need to be up. Rearmic Trap, Flames of Oblivion, and the Standard of Might. Still very strong. Buffs your damage by a lot. And just to show you, like, because we run Elfbane, Blockade, like all the timers, you can see usually that's usually 8 seconds. It's usually like 18 seconds, so it's everything is 2 seconds longer. That's why we had to completely change the rotation. So now, the rotation is on my website. It looks like it's complicated, but once you get used to it and once you understand it, it's not that much. So just to quickly showcase you, how the rotation looks like. I will do it slowly. Before you engage, always make sure to pop a potion, Flames of Oblivion. And now, what you want to do is also drop the trap before the fight starts, if you can do that. You drop the trap, eruption, drop the standard, blockade of fire, engulfing flames, burning embers. You whip 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You weapon swap, apply blockade, and that's the first part. That's usually how you start off. Now after this part is over, the normal rotation will begin. Now just to quickly showcase you that again, so you see it how it's fast. It's pretty easy. I mean, just pre-buff all the stuff, drop the eruption, blockade, weapon swap, engulfing, burning, and then whip 6 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can see blockade is about to run out, so we weapon swap, reapply blockade. You can basically whip as long as blockade is up, and then you need to reapply the blockade. And now, once that is done, so like we just reapplied the blockade, you do 2 more whips, engulfing flames, burning embers, 2 whips, weapon swap, eruption, flames, trap, blockade, weapon swap, 2 whips, engulfing flames, burning embers, 4 times whip, weapon swap, blockade. That's basically the rotation. It sounds like it's very complicated, but actually once you understand, it's just like we basically reapply the dots on cooldown with this rotation. I will just quickly showcase you once more how the full one looks like with standard and everything. So now, yeah, it should survive it actually. Once again, always pre-buff before you engage. We use flames, then trap, eruption, drop the standard, blockade. And that's the rotation. Now restart. Like I said, I listed it up on the website. Sounds it's complicated, but once you get the hang out of it, not that big of a deal. The rotation is centered around the blockade basically. Because it's longer than usual, we had to change the rotation. Because Elfbane is only useful if you actually let the extra duration of the dots roll. Anyway, once again, thanks Richard for the rota. Very, very helpful. If you have any questions, ask me in the comment section below or just join Discord. We have a DK Fury Crafting channel there with a lot of active people. Make sure to not forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching and have a nice day. Cheers.